I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Miriam Cates. You're watching GB News Breakfast.
Well, you join us on what is a historic and indeed beautiful day in Rome. Hundreds of thousands of people are gathering for the funeral mass of Pope Francis.
Yes, it's set to take place at 9 a.m. this morning, and world leaders, including President Trump, Ukrainian President Zelensky, and the UK, Prince of Wales, and Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer.
Well, let's head over to the Vatican. Ellie Costello is there for us this morning, where, this is a remarkable day, mourning and celebrating the life of what many consider to be a remarkable Pope.
Yes, absolutely. Good morning to you, Stephen and Miriam. It is going to be a beautiful and poignant and solemn moment. But yes, Stephen, you're right to describe it as a celebration as well. It's a commemoration of the People's Pope. And I am struck, as I look over my shoulder now, at the number of young people that are currently sat down in St. Peter's Square because they have been here for hours. But I am struck by the number of young people that are here to see Pope Francis's funeral, because to many of them, and I have spoken to a number of them this week, they say that they feel as though they've lost a grandfather, a member of their family. Pope Francis loved young people, he loved children, and they loved him back, and he would be so happy to see the number of youth here for the funeral, which will begin in about an hour's time. I wanted to bring in now Father Paul, who's a parish priest from Oslo in Norway. Thank you so much for joining us on GB News Breakfast. And we're hearing so much about how different this funeral service is going to be. What can we expect this morning?
Well, it is a standard Catholic funeral mass that anyone would get. But I've heard that the language in the prayers for the Pope is simplified a bit. And his coffin is a bit simpler as well, one layer less of lead, but it will look the same, I think, as it has done in the past as well.
We are about to witness, though, something that nobody alive has ever seen before, and that is the procession of the Pope's coffin through the streets of Rome, because he doesn't want to be buried at the Vatican. He wants to be buried at St. Mary's Major Church in Rome. Why do you think he came to that decision?
Well, he has had a very deep affection for that church for a long time. Also, the morning after he was elected Pope, he was there at 7 o'clock in the morning to pray. So it is a church where he has gone to pray a lot. He went there always before or after he had a pastoral journey outside of Rome. So he's been there a lot to pray in front of an icon of Our Lady that he loves very much, an icon that was given to that church in 530 or something. So it's been there for a long time. But I think also it could be because he wants to be close to people. That's one of his things, be close to people. The church is more available, it's easier to enter, and it's also situated close to Termini, the main train station here in Rome, where you have a lot of illegal immigrants, where you have homeless, where you have prostitutes, people who've kind of fallen out of mainstream society. They are there as well. So I think this is also a way for him to help us to remember the poor. Remember the poor was a cardinal told him as he was elected Pope, and he shows us now by being buried there that he wants us to remember the poor as well. Everyone who will visit his grave in the future will also see poverty.
And it's so in keeping with, as you say, everything that he stood for during his papacy and in fact during his life. You met him on a number of times, didn't you? Especially in Casa Santa Marta, which is the apartment just behind where we're stood now. He rejected the papal palaces. He deemed them to be too grand, didn't he? So tell us about your meeting with him there.
Well, he said himself that the reason why he chose to stay in Casa Santa Marta was to be close to people. He was afraid that in the papal apartment just across the piazza here, he would be too far away from people. So it was not to save money, to be less extravagant, it was to be close to people. First time I met him there, I came just with my suitcase off the street, went in, said, do you want lunch? And I went into the dining room and there was the Pope. So he was very accessible at the beginning, at least in there. I also swapped his succhetto, the white hat, with him in there. So I bought one and took it out and said, Holy Father, this is a bit embarrassing. It is a weird thing to do, but can we swap?
Is it like when footballers swap shirts at the end of a football match?
Yeah. Wow. Absolutely, yeah.
And he was happy to give you his?
He was happy, and he made a little joke. I was a bit uncertain if I could do that. I mean, it is his home, it was his dining room, and I was there intruding.
You just walked in?
And I just walked in. So he said, that depends, he said. I got a bit scared. But then depends on the size, of course, he said. What size is it? Well, I bought it at the tailor, so I hope they know your size. No, sometimes it's a bit too small, he said. But so he took off the one he was wearing, placed the one I had bought inside, measured it, and you see, it is a bit smaller. So I think I'll keep the other one. But listen, then he took the one I had bought. Thank you very much. Now it is mine. Placed it on his head, and then he gave it back to me.
Well,
now it
and
is
do you
yours.
still have his?
I do. So if he will become a saint, I will have a relic of Pope Francis, yes.
What an incredible story. And you just touched on there his sense of humour as well, which so many people have spoken about. He was funny.
Yeah, funny guy. Last time I saw him, he tried to tell me a joke. I didn't understand the joke, but he came up to me and some youths. I was waiting, we were waiting for him, and the first thing he said was, tell me, is it really true that in Norway they put kids in the refrigerator to warm them up? And I didn't understand the point. So he had to start explaining, how cold is it in Norway now? Yeah, so the idea was that it was warmer inside the fridge than outside.
Very good. But it was an icebreaker between the two of you, which is really lovely. Father Paul, so wonderful to hear the stories that you shared with the late Pope Francis. Thank you for sharing them with us here on GB News Breakfast. And how wonderful to hear those stories there, the personality of Pope Francis coming through, the humility, the humour, the personality, and truly you can see from the young people, the people from all around the globe, the dignitaries, the world leaders, the power, the soft power that the Pope Francis had to bring together everybody in his name. I think he'd be really proud of the sight below us right now.
I'm sure he would, and I have to say, to hear those stories, Ellie, from Father Paul was really nice, because it does give us that little bit of extra insight into the man, doesn't it, rather than just the Pope.
Yes, it's lovely to hear those stories, and we are going to have the full coverage of the Pope's funeral right here on GB News from 9 o'clock this morning, so less than an hour to go actually until the start of the Mass.
Okay.
The priests are going to receive the official delegations as they arrive through the Perugino door, and then we will escort them until their designated place up there at, if you look at the right side of the altar, where there's going to be the funeral mass.
And does this sort of thing take a lot of organisation?
Yes, a lot of organization. We have a special section where I work. It's called the protocol section. They are responsible. Usually they do everything, but in an occasion like this, and with the numbers, we are talking more than 150 delegations from different countries, they ask for our help.
So how does it work in terms of the seating plan? Does that go with the protocol section that you've just described? And it does follow a very strict tradition, doesn't it?
Yes, it goes, it's the responsibility of the protocol section, and they assign the seats according to the protocol, respecting the different ranks, and if it's the head of state or a deputy head of state that is coming in representation of the nation, or if it's the ambassador, or if it's a minister, so they respect the rankings, and the order of seating goes like this.
And the Vatican actually prioritizes royalty over politicians as well. It's royals that sit before the politicians.
Yes, there's a little bit of this, but if it's the head of the state that is coming, he has priority. And then, of course, if it's a king or a queen, it's also head of state, and then they have. I'm assuming. I'm not absolutely sure, but I'm assuming they are going to receive the first row places. No?
How are you feeling ahead of the funeral tomorrow? I know it's a huge responsibility with your job, but it must be an emotional moment for you as well.
Exactly. I'm feeling a little bit. Right now, we are all Catholics feeling like we are on a ship without the captain. Captain is missing since Monday, and we that work close with him, we miss him a lot. He was a very close pope, a very reachable pope, a very good friend. And then, of course, we are missing him a lot, and also praying for the Holy Spirit to help the cardinals that have the task to select our new pope, the new captain of the ship.